some differences with my colleagues. Barbara Comstock tried to get Governor McDonald to veto my House Bill 1160, which was a bill which said Virginia will not participate in the so-called preventive detention of American citizens in the United States. The Congress, publicly involved with this, authorized the President to detain, meaning arrest, any American citizen without any charges, without legal counsel, without a jury trial, without habeas corpus. That is no different than what the Stasi did in East Germany. Under the pretext of preventing terrorist actions, you don't need to abandon the Constitution. There are ways to deal with that without doing that. She got Michael Chertoff to write a letter, and at least I was able to convince the governor. As a matter of fact, I told him I was going to be able to override it, and he understood that. He accepted a friendly amendment to accommodate some of his concerns. I oppose the expansion of Medicaid. I do not think you can reform it. It is the biggest expense in the Virginia budget. It's gone from something about 10% of the budget to about 22% of the budget, all with a bunch of reforms in the meantime. Delegate Comstock has said children. Here, this is what she says. This is her website. Delegate Comstock has continued working with her colleagues in the General Assembly to find workable reforms so that Medicaid can be expanded. I don't want to expand it. To me, this is expanding the welfare state is a key element of the monetary. Additionally, I do have a difficulty with some of the money that my colleague is accepting. You look at the Washington Post blog. I'm consistent with the money that I accept and the policies that I espouse and defend. Barbara Comstock and two other Republican women received $400,000 from Paul Singer. Who's Paul Singer? Paul Singer is a billionaire hedge fund manager who's the largest donor to gay rights causes in the United States. He wants to break down the constitutional amendments like we have in Virginia. My amendment is called the Marshall-Newman Amendment. He's in fact funding the attorney who's taking these cases, who's also given Barbara Comstock money. So nobody can come back and say, Marshall, the Republican platform says you're for real marriage, but you're taking all this money from people who want to rent. You can't say that about me. Military transfers to hostile powers must stop. Short-sighted gains in sales of technology equipment to American companies are placing our national security at risk, and they are burdening our budget with unnecessary expenses. Because as we improve the militaries of other states, we have to spend more money to defend against the very people who are now threatening us. Religious liberty and conscience must be protected. I've introduced bills. Again, the Republican leadership doesn't want to hear it. In Richmond, to prevent the Obama administration from compelling citizens, businesses, and churches from the forced purchase of abortion pills, birth control, and sterilization, including for minors without parental consent, which violates the right of conscience. I offer an amendment to the budget. My opponent, Barbara Comstock, voted against it on the grounds that, well, there's litigation going on. Yet she and others accepted my amendment that says that Paula can't use a dime of Virginia money to undo the abortion clinic regulations, that there's litigation going on right there. I am consistent. I don't have to apologize for my votes. I don't have to think who's giving me money because I'm single-minded and focused. I would appreciate your support. I put my cell phone on my website so people can easily trip for this campaign. I've done it for years. Thank you very much.
Next up, we have Mark Sabat, and just want to let you know too that there's no recording here tonight. Should not be recording the event.
Christy. No, you don't have a right to tape it. You have a right to be here, but you certainly do not have a right to tape it.
So the lady in the back of the room is representing Mr. Faust, the Democrat. She's not going to be recording.
She says she has the right to record. Does anybody
If
know?
it's a public event, then I'm not trying to cause disturbance at all. I was just here to.
Weren't you also in Manassas last week, too?
You might have seen me.
Well, I'll tell you, if you want to zoom in, I'd like to say hello to Mr. Faust and tell him that I look forward to debating, and we don't have to wait for the general election to debate live. Good evening, everyone. My name is Mark Sabat, and it's nice to be home. resident of Frederick County. I've lived here for 28 years.
We don't have to have,
It's a beautiful place.
I know it's a public meeting, but I don't think you're allowed to record it without permission.
We've raised 4 children here who are all grown. Left the house. Sometimes it's nice, sometimes it's not. We have 5 grandchildren. Unfortunately, none of them live around here. We just had a visit last week from our son who's in the Air Force. He's out in Utah right now, Hill Air Force Base. So we had a nice visit, and of course it's always over too soon. Okay, let me get right into this because we've got less than 3 weeks now to the primary, firehouse primary on the 26th. So the question is, why pick me over the other ones? We have some fine candidates, and I said this when we were in Fairfax. All 6 of us that are in this race are fine candidates. Any one of them can beat Mr. Faust. But why am I better, right? We do have some distinct differences. All of the candidates say that when they get to Washington, here's what I'm going to do. Of course, all of us will get out there and say, here's what's wrong with the country, here's what's wrong with the president, here's what's wrong with everything in Washington. But we usually don't hear how to fix it. And I forget who said this, but someone once said that if you have a speech and you don't have an action plan, it's just a speech. I have an action plan, I'll go into that in a few minutes. But why pick me? Right? Again, all the candidates in this race are telling you what they're going to do when they get to Washington. All of them, with the exception of me, have worked for the government. Working for the government is not a bad thing. I have a son who works for the government. The difference is, you have people that work for the government, you have people that work for you in Washington that may not necessarily be with the government. I'm that person. First of all, I've owned my own small business for almost 30 years. I know what government regulations can do to a small business. I know how they can put a small business out of business. We haven't gone out of business. We've been in business for 30 years. And during that 30-year period, we have weathered 4 recessions. Not an easy thing to do, but we've stayed in business and we have been successful. I've also been the president of 2 national trade associations. I have represented small business and consumers on Capitol Hill for 15 years. I have a seat at the table, and that seat is in front of Congress. I have testified 10 times before Congress. The administration chose me to testify before the Financial Crisis Inquiry Commission back in 2010 on behalf of small business. I was in front of 6 people for 3 hours being cross-examined. I had no lawyers with me. I had no other staffers. It was just me, and I thoroughly enjoyed it because I educated them. One of the biggest problems we have in this country today with our economy is the federal government because we are overregulated, and I'll get back to that in a second. We also have the government competing with us in business. Student loans, for example. Student loans used to be, I'm sorry about the little raspy voice here, but I'm talking a lot lately. My wife would probably love if I had another laryngitis. But you take student loans. The banks used to have student loans. And the government took student loans away from the banks because they said they were charging too much. So you now have HHS is running the student loans. The student loan, the interest rates are no lower than they were with any of the banks. In the last 2 years, the government has made $200 billion off of student loans. They took that out of the private sector. And how many jobs would that create? Are going out of this country. Services a lot of loans. They have the servicers out of this country. Why don't they have that here? The government should insist upon any servicing or any of the government contracts that they have should insist that they be here because this takes away jobs. You have over-regulations, I just mentioned. Over-regulation costs small business approximately $10,000 per employee per year. Now, I have a lot of experience in this. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which was created out of the Dodd-Frank Act, those 2 ethical fellows that they named that law after. And I've been up in front of both of them, by the way, in my testifying. People say that I have backbone because I go up against them when they were in office, and I was pushed back on them. And Let me give you a couple of ideas about some of the overregulation that we have. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which is the agency that was created from Dodd-Frank, and the director was one of the individuals that actually had a recess appointment from President Obama, and he was later confirmed when Harry Reid hit the new button and decided that we're going to do things differently as far as the confirmations went. I have met with the director on a number of occasions. This man does not understand, he's a former attorney general, he does not understand the way things work in the real world because he's always worked with government. Half the people that qualify, one of the new rules that came out in January, half the people that qualified for a mortgage last year in 2013 will not qualify this year in 2014. The government is now telling the banks and the mortgage companies and those involved in choosing underwriting loans, they're telling them who can get a mortgage and who can't get a mortgage. I mean, we're talking people with some serious money down, good credit, but if they have a debt ratio that's over 43%, I know I'm probably going a little over your head here, which is not a very high debt ratio, you don't qualify. It doesn't matter what the other qualifications are, you don't qualify. Now, the number 2 man at this bureau that created this law left 30 days after this law was finalized. And again, they call this law the qualified mortgage rule. Now, if lenders have can only make loans that are qualified mortgages, you can still get non-qualified mortgages, but there's specialty companies that will do it. And they're sort of like what the old subprime loans used to do. The number 2 guy at the CFPB left, and he went into the private sector and created a company called Fenway Summer that actually will do these subprime type of loans. He's expected to make over $250 billion in the next couple of years. So here they put these rules into place, and he made a cut. Tax discussion. Give you the all right, give me just a couple of seconds. We're overtaxed. We have an underground economy in this country where $2 trillion a year is kept underground. We need to bring it to the surface. The best way to bring it to the surface is with a fair tax. A fair tax is a consumption tax. This way, the government will benefit anywhere between $500 and $600 billion a year. Very quickly here, we all said that we've got a problem with Washington. We've all said at one time or another that we need to throw them all out. We've all said that. I know we've all said that. The only way to prevent that problem, the problems we have in Washington, which is our fault, by the way, is we keep sending the same type of person to Washington every 2 years. What we need to do is change. We need to break the mold. We need to send somebody who's got extensive business experience, and nobody in this campaign has got the business experience that I do, coupled with a Washington experience. Put those two together. Let me go to Washington. I will term limit myself, by the way. I've done that. I have a contract with the local. Let me go up there, let me start things off, and then at the end of that term limit, let somebody else come in and pick up where I left off. I would appreciate your support on April the 26th. I'll be around to the end of the meeting. If you have any questions, I'll be very happy. Thank you very much.
Next up, we have Susan Allen speaking from Roger Comstock.
Hello, everybody. Wake up. It's been a great day, even though it's been working all day. But it's so good to be back over here in the northern part of the valley. I carry what I consider my political Bible around with me now. I published a book on Ronald Reagan this June because my worry is the next generation doesn't even remember who Ronald Reagan was and what he did for this country. And how much we're yearning for that again. What was it we loved about Ronald Reagan? He had conviction. He had integrity. He was optimistic. He made us believe that things were good in America again, that we could be that shining city on the hill. And we're yearning for that so much in our country again.